Do you want a financially secure future, not just for yourself, but for your loved ones as well? This is Generations of Wealth, the podcast that breaks down the most effective wealth building strategies you can easily apply to your own life. Join investor and international best-selling author Derek Dombeck in exploring practical tips and sound advice on building a profitable business, creating a powerful brand, or getting into the thriving world of real estate investing. This is your chance to create your very own financial roadmap to live your vision, love your life. Let's begin this discussion with your host, Derek Dombeck.
Welcome to the Generations of Wealth podcast. I'm Derek Dombeck, your host. This is the podcast where we bring on all different types of guests, whether it's investment and in the case today, personal development and leadership. But everything is in the reason that we do all this is to live our visions, love our lives. Today, I've got Tracey Jones, Dr. Tracey Jones, I should say, who is internationally recognized leadership and just an expert in all things personal development. Tracey, I really can't tell you how much I appreciate you being here, especially since we're all about, vision, and I'm super excited for this conversation. Would you mind telling the world a little bit about yourself and who you are?
I'd love to. Well, Derek, thank you for this tremendous opportunity. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. And I know you have a lot of things vying for your time, but I appreciate you taking time to listen. Just in a nutshell, I grew up with a father that was a motivational speaker. And I tell people that's like a cross between growing up in boot camp and a sitcom. So I sat under the tutelage of people like Zig Ziglar, Norman Vincent Peale, Og Mandino, Jim Rohn. So you get the impression. As a young child, I was imprinted on people that had their vision, lived their life, and really were dedicated to helping other people. So my father was Charlie Tremendous Jones, and his famous quote is, "You will be the same person 5 years from now that you are today, except for two things: the people you meet and the books you read." So this was imprinted on me. I tell people I think I read How to Win Friends and Influence People before the Pokey Little Puppy. So early growing on, it was earn extra money reading personal development books or history books or C.S. Lewis or something like that. And so that's what I grew up with. And the other thing he told me when I graduated from high school, I'm from South Central Pennsylvania near Harrisburg, and I'm fifth out of six. So I'm the middle child. So it's all cool. But us middle children were very flexible and very adventurous and don't get ruffled over too much stuff because we know about the oldest, we know about the youngest, and we're just in the middle having fun. And he said to me, my father, "Tracey, you have to go out and earn your stripe." And I was always very aware as a young person watching these successful people. They didn't inherit their wealth. They didn't have famous names. They worked hard. And so I understood that truly be successful and help other people, you have to have earned your stripes yourself. So left high school, went into the military. I went to the Air Force Academy, went into the military for 12 years, living all over the world, working on fighter jets. Then went into high tech in Austin, Texas, moved to St. Louis to work in defense contracting. And then when my father immigrated to heaven 15 years ago, it was time for me to bring it all back 20 years after I left and pick up what he started. So that's kind of my story.
Well, there is so much there I don't even know where we should start. But first of all, thank you for your incredible service to our country, and then now just to do what you do and give back. And I can relate. My father passed exactly 15 years ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. So it is kind of picking up that torch and carrying that on, and the family legacy. I can relate to that as well. It's fantastic. So what do you think? Because I know how I define wealth, but how do you define wealth when you're talking with people and in a leadership role?
Well, wealth always has that financial connotation to it, and there certainly is an aspect of that. And I heard one of our authors, David Ibarra, who's a very successful entrepreneur, very driven to share his wealth, but he's made a comment and he said, there's being wealthy and there's being rich. And rich is really what we want to focus on. Wealth is definitely a correlation of that, but you can have a ton of money and be absolutely miserable, scared. People say to me, "Well, I want to win the lottery." And I'm like, "No, you don't. Your life will be ruined forever. Don't even say that." kind of thing. But riches is, I think, what we're really looking for, a richness in that your life is full and that you are free to serve and that you've got your health and that you've got a support network. Problems are inescapable in this life, but misery is. And that comes when you have a support network of people to help you and come alongside you. When you have your vision, you're rich. Because no matter what comes your way, you can focus on the North Star and always be convinced no matter who goes against you or if you get canceled or whatever happens, you know that what you're doing is what you're meant to be doing. So I really look at it and say, I am so rich now. I don't know if I could get any richer. My father would always say, I'm so tired of being happy. It's wearing me out. And I think when you really focus on the riches aspect of it, you can really count your blessings. And that's when you realize how truly wealthy you are.
I know we've never actually met before until we started, recording this, but everything you're talking about is what we do at the REI Circle of Trust, which is our masterminds that we host. And, we talk to our members when we're in that mastermind setting about using the vision to be, in your words, the true north. It's what we gauge when the shiny objects keep flying at us. Does this take us closer to our vision? Does this take us farther away from our vision? And it's remarkable, even though we've never met, our thought processes are so similar. Also, I have to mention that, you had a lot of famous authors and people that you talked about that you kind of grew up reading, one of which, Jim Rohn. I never really followed Jim that much. However, I met his business partner, Kyle Wilson, who was the man behind it. Are you familiar with Kyle?
Of course, I know Kyle. He's a dear friend.
Okay. So yeah, I'm in Kyle's inner circle. I've been in two of Kyle's books, that Next Level Your Life and The Transformational Journey, as a co-author. And that, just seeing what Kyle has taught me from Jim's teachings in the last several years, it's just remarkable as well. Again, it's all about personal development and continuously trying to strive to be our best. I know you kind of have a theory of once you get, whether you're a real estate investor or an entrepreneur or professional, once you get to the second half of your life, you kind of have more time to, I guess I don't know the words that you would maybe use. I should probably let you do it. But how do you feel about when people are in the second half of their life?
The back nine is, I think there's a certain confidence you get and a peace because you now have the knowledge and the wisdom. Even if you've made the mistakes, even better because because most people are out there making mistakes and you can be an encourager to them. I was kind of taught growing up, 0 to 20 is your kind of your forming years, you're churning, you're, growing physically, figuring out what your innate gifting is, getting imprinted on. And then 20 to 40 is your learning. That's when you're going to school, you're in jobs for the first time and you're learning. 40 to 60 is your earning years. That's when you start parlaying, hey, now this is who I am. This is what I can do. Lord willing, you've proven some things. 60 to 80 is your yearning years. And that is where you really get passionate about, okay, I probably have less days on the earth than I did in the first half. So I need to really dial in what is my highest and truest purpose. We get this calling. And then 80 to 100 is because I'm publishing people's books and they're 90. I get people that call me that are still handing out books that are 98. And that is the returning. That's where you are just shoveling everything back to the world that you possibly can because you know your time is nigh and you're sunsetting in a beautiful way because you're on to glory and you just want to return everything back. So, my father always taught me growing up, in his 50s, he's like, oh, this is the best decade. And then he was in his 60s and he's like, no, this is the best decade. And then his 70s and he's like, Tracy, you're not going to believe the 70s. And he died 1 week shy of being 81. So he would have said that about every year. And that is the approach you have to take. Growing old is a blessing denied many. And if you're on this earth, God hasn't called you home because he wants you home. He loves you. He wants you to be with him. There's a reason. And so get up and find that reason. And I think, like I said, the older you are, you get that clarity and you also aren't so resource constrained that we're smarter at putting out boundaries. We're smarter at knowing what we're readily looking for. And I think we're more at peace and chilled with, you know what, I've planned well, and it's all part of how we're going to live that second half of our life.
100%. My question then is, what would you say if you were speaking to a group of 20 and 30-year-old young entrepreneurs to convince them that this is what your future is and can be?
Mhm. Absolutely. Well, there's 2 things for young people, at that age, you're really worried, not worried, that's such a negative word. You are focused on fortune and family. So the goal is, first of all, of course, your family, no matter what else, being in a stable home where you have good grounding and a way of dealing with conflict and modeling a loving relationship. Or if you're a single parent, I was single for forever. I just got married 4 years ago. I don't have children. That you are content with yourself and you're living at peace. I think that's the most important thing, because anything that you expose children to at that age is, as we know, is going to live with them and significantly impact them growing up. So I would say, first of all, I love it. What Ben Franklin's Way to Wealth, 2 words: industriousness and frugality. Work hard. I mean, you take every opportunity. I watch people now, well, I don't feel like that, or that's not for me. Are you kidding me? Get in
Mhm.
there, work. I don't care if you're shoveling elephant dung at a zoo. You work, 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 work. And then you save, 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 and you stay out of debt. Debt is slavery. Okay. Look at our country. I can't even go there. That's for another discussion. But we are in big, big trouble as a nation, from a financial perspective. But you don't have to be part of that problem. So I would say work and save, and also just take 15 minutes a day and read something in the realm of personal development. You're probably going to have to be doing a lot of reading for work, and that's fine. But just take 15 minutes, whether it's in a Jim Rohn book, or the Bible or whatever it is, 15 minutes a day. Take the weekends off and just keep growing yourself. Those are the 2 things that I'd really encourage young people.
Well, and I agree 100%. And that was the way myself and my wife, whose name is also Tracy, when we were in our 20s and building our first house, doing everything together, we busted our asses
Yep.
and took every opportunity we could. And it's really interesting. Like when we got into real estate was 2003, and we built up to 2007 and then basically lost everything. And we had to start over and work even harder for years.
Mhm,
Right.
mhm.
And now it's really fun for me I shouldn't say fun. It's actually sad to a certain degree. But when people are saying comments like, well, it must be nice. You
Oh,
guys get to do fill in the blank, right? Except they weren't there in 2007 when we were struggling to give us any support or any help, and that's fine. Like I'm better for it. I say publicly all the time, 2007 was the biggest blessing we ever had,
mm,
was losing it all, because we were forced to learn how to do things in an alternative method. And honestly, we probably would have been arrogant, pompous asses if we hadn't had some failure.
right.
Right?
Right.
Not intentionally, but that
No.
we see that happen with people that don't seem to have any challenges. And we
Mhm.
know everybody has challenges, but on the surface they hide them.
Mhm.
So,
Well, we got that, back to Derek. We have this weird, in fashion cultural vogue thing about crapping on people that have worked hard or are privileged, and it's like, you better step back. Hey, you don't know me. You don't know what I've been through. That's unbelievably judgmental and narrow-minded. Stop it. So I mean, I just flat out tell. But I have fewer and fewer people say that, because the world we're in, people understand you got to pay the price. You don't fall on the top of the mountain. And so when I hear that, I kind of can't even hear it, because it's like, wow, it's just, we're speaking such different languages. As friend, I hope you can own your life, because as long as you look with the spirit of envy at anybody, you're blocking your own blessing. So that's between you and the Holy Spirit.
yeah,
Figure that
100,
out. I can't help that.
100%. And that's often the same thing that we tell people. It's like, why are you focused on us? I mean,
Yes.
you can do anything you believe you can do. Stop
Right.
focusing on us. Like,
Right.
We're
But
here to help you.
I'm glad you're saying that because I felt that way too. I would say, oh, look at these people. And I think everybody does that. So it's a very immature approach. And we were all immature, selfish babies. We also have an element of that. But hopefully as we grow in wisdom and wealth and experience, we realize you start getting up to the next level. I can remember, in leadership, when you're an individual contributor, you think you know better than the boss. The boss is an idiot. And then you start getting up into management, you realize, well, maybe the boss isn't an idiot, as big an idiot as I thought. And then you get to the big chair and you're like, holy cow, I had no idea this is what everything entailed. So you get that wisdom, but a lot of it is just perspective. And hopefully, if they're open and willing to own the work it takes, right? Ben Franklin, industriousness. If you do the work, you will accrue the wealth.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I've seen again working with people through the circle of trust is everybody comes in and we start talking about vision and they start getting sick of hearing us say vision, 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 vision. But those that embrace it quickly have results quickly. Those that
Yes.
take longer to figure out their vision, which we help extract it from them, it takes longer.
Mhm.
But what I've noticed, and I would love your opinion on this, when we work with people, usually their vision starts out with stuff, the cars, the vacations, the houses, right? And then over time, as everything evolves, it starts becoming more philanthropical. The donations, the mission trips, the charity work. And I'm assuming, because I know your resume, I mean, you are an incredible giver in so many different ways.
Thank you.
How do you see that in your world? Am I off base or is that pretty much spot on?
Oh, no, absolutely not. Again, it's kind of this is all I see. And even in publishing, well, I just want to get famous. I want to sell a million books. Okay. That's so fleeting. The world is so fickle. You can go from hero to zero. I love Project Runway and I love Heidi Klum's statement, one day you're in and the next you're out. So it's, the Bible has a lot of that. Don't count on man because, and even we just passed Easter. One day Christ is coming in victorious, the next few days later he's crucified. So you just can't put that in there. But I think vision, until people really understand vision, but like you said, it's a maturity thing. When we're little kids, we want just toys. And when you're a leader in the workplace, you just want salary. But as you start growing, you start developing higher needs versus these, in leadership, we call them hygiene factors. And then we get into Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Well, I just want to be secure. I want to be safe. I want to have an office. I want to have a parking spot. And then you get into these higher needs where you realize, no, I want something more than that. And I think part of that is you coaching them through that process because according to the world, it's all just stuff. I mean, look at everything that floods our stuff, vacation, fame, influence. How many followers do you have? And it's all a complete, utter, hideous trap and facade. And if you don't look at that when people are like, oh my gosh, they were so famous and then they checked out. No kidding. None of this stuff is ever going to fill that hole in your heart. You know that. So you have to find that true thing. I do want to say about vision, some of us are coded more as doers and more task oriented. That's me. Others of us are coded more big picture or kind of future thinking. That's not me. So I always struggled with vision and thought, well, I'm not an Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg. I'm not this visionary. But my father, who was very pragmatic, he would say, Tracy, vision is really just seeing what needs to be done and then doing it. We have the law of attraction, but the root word is action. So you have this big picture, but then you have this very tactical, strategic aspect to it. And I'm like, now that I can get my head wrapped around because I'm an project manager at heart. I believe we can solve all the world's problems if we just if we set a schedule and throw enough resources at them. So I would say for vision, if people can look at it and say it's not just stuff, but what is the one thing right now that is your biggest either opportunity or problem you want to solve? Like I'm in the personal development space, so I really have to look at the landscape and say, what does the world need more of? That I can bring to it. And that's how I really help continue because it changes a lot. And that's how I keep dialing in the vision. And then vision is great, but if you don't, strategic planning is beautiful. But if you don't have strategic execution, you're just, smoking your pipe dream, kind of thing. You're just out there, you're talking. So vision has this beautiful forward momentum strategic execution aspect of it, which is why we convene with like-minded people and why we draw people into our team. You can't run your business without the right people that follow that vision. And so that's where we really get into it. If we're all just out all pursuing our own cars and houses, we're never going to be able to come together as a team. So vision is that unifying clarion call future, and what individually motivates you, whether it's a car or a house, that's cool. That's cool. But we all have to be tied to something higher and beyond any of us to get to that collective.
Absolutely. And that's really what the Generations of Wealth podcast and the entire platform is about. It's us growing a network of people that are not just motivated by money. For me, Generations of Wealth is about financial wealth, but it's spiritual wealth, time wealth, physical wealth. And, I know that you're a huge advocate of books. Talk to us a little bit about, how can reading books make you wealthy in all these different ways, not just financially?
Well, when I came back 15 years ago to run the company, I remember thinking, oh no, I read because I had a need to know. I mean, I was in very technical fields, so I knew regulations and instructions, a lot of things, but I didn't read to grow. And I thought, I'm going to be with all these book lovers, and they're going to look at me and say, I don't think she loves books as much as us. So I'm like, I got to figure out what to do. So my father had this little book called, I'll see if I have a copy of it here, called one of these little life-changing classic called Books Are Tremendous. And it was a compilation of quotes about books. And I remember reading that and thinking, my goodness, these are the most unbelievable, just like somebody that says a wonderful word to you, or you have a dream or an epiphany. That's what books do. Books are living, breathing. Well, the Bible is the word of God. So you got that going for you if you open that up and speak to that. Who doesn't want to speak directly to God? But also, if I read Lincoln or C.S. Lewis or Patton or Jim Rohn, I get to talk to the greats and have a conversation with them. So I started reading a little bit and I'm like, I get it. This is what it's all about. And so I looked at it where I would look before where all these jobs and what I did, that's who made me. And then I realized, no, who I become, that's what makes the job. So I became way more intrinsically focused, my locus of control versus, well, the world's going to happen to me. And I realized, no, the power of thought, everything, Derek, begins up. And people are like, well, I'm not feeling it. Right. Okay, that's great. Then get your mind in gear. Everything starts here, then it goes to your heart, then it goes to your hands, then it goes to your habits. But everything originates up here, and books are the ultimate programmer of your mind. You know what I'm saying? So my father had been publishing since 1967. The book Life is Tremendous has never gone out of print, which is very unusual. And I just started realizing, you may have a crappy boss, you may have a really unhappy life, but you can read books and all that starts with you. And books are the cure all. Books are the best. There's a school of psychology called bibliotherapy. And biblio, of course, is the word for book, bibliotherapy. And I tell people, read 2 books and call me next week. So I watched my father when people would come into his office, like, Charlie, I'm losing my business. My life is in shambles. My kid's in jail. And he would just be like, and he had hundreds of thousands of books in his library, not exaggerating. And he would just tell them, go pick a book off the shelf, any book. And they'd go pick off the book off the shelf. And he would just say, sit down and read with me for 20 minutes. And the person would read aloud for 20 minutes, any book, like Johnny Carson, the Great Carmack, any book. Okay, any card. And after 20 minutes, they would just look up at Charlie with tears in their eyes and say, how did you know that's what I needed? Every time. And the point was, he didn't know what he needed. He just realized sometimes, whenever we're stuck in a rut, it's because we're so inwardly focused. And books get you out of yourself, out of your thumb sucking mode, out of your own woe is me pity party. And they get you seeing what you're going through. The greats have gone through a million times worse than that. So get out of yourself and get back. And the devil loves to get us focused on the pity party and misery. And pain is a necessity, but misery is optional. And books get you pulled out of yourself. So that's what I would say to people is, if you're going through anything, and people come to me, Tracey, I'm in a rut. What are you reading and who are you hanging out with? Nobody and nothing. I'm like, well, you got to get a lifeline, and that's those books and that's those people.
Well, I love that line. Pain is necessary, but misery is say that one more time, because I love that.
Problems. Yeah, pain is part of life. Pain is a necessity, but misery is optional.
Yes.
And somebody once told me when I was like complaining about something, they said, Tracey, anger, frustration, defeat, shame, guilt, those are self-imposed emotions. Stop it. And I'm like, stop it. I could stop it. I could, it will always be there, but I don't have to let it capture my mind and start spiraling. Stop it. And how do I stop it? I change my point of focus and I get in a good book. And guess what? I can't be thinking about all the crap going on and reading about Jim Rohn and, the seasons of life. You can't.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So as you're accruing wealth and improving your life, there's always struggles, there's always pitfalls. What are the pitfalls and the struggles to avoid while you're accruing wealth?
I think when you're accruing wealth is ever sitting back and thinking that I'm done. I got enough because, I'm a big follower of having lived all over the world, other countries, and I know how quickly everything can vanish. So I always let people know, prepare, think long term, feast or famine. I think, Jacob, where you accumulate this wealth and then there's 7 years of famine. So a lot of people are like, hey, I'm flush with cash. I have more money. I've had people tell me I have more money than I know what to do with. And I'm like, don't you say that. Don't you say that. Okay. Because there may be a time. I know my first 7 years back in the business, we did have more money than I knew what to do with. And the next 7 years were lean like eating Franks and beans. Okay. And had I not saved, I would not be in business today. So I would say really make sure and then just be aware wealth does weird things to people, and it also makes people look at you weird, and it also can make you a target. So just, I would keep everything on the down low and just put it in safe spaces, safe places, and freely give away. Because my father told me the more you give, the more you get. And you don't give to get because that's trading. But
Mhm.
when you give because out of giving, you get a greater capacity to give. And, I was taught it's all God's anyways. We're just stewards. And I love the parable of the talents. So if you can't be entrusted with a little bit to make the world a better place, you're not going to be given more. So I try and really be a good steward. I try and watch because I could live to be 120. And so I'm watching what's going on, but I'm also realizing I want other people to live to be 120. So I'm also want to be generous.
No, absolutely. I love that. And I know I didn't really go through and tell the audience, what you've done over the years, but I think you should have a little bit of time here to brag on yourself because honestly, reading through your accomplishments is quite impressive. So
Oh, thanks, Derek.
tell everybody a little bit about some of the philanthropical things you're able to do because of your philosophy and because of your wealth of knowledge.
Well, I appreciate that. And I tell you, it is a legacy business, but there's only three things my father left us with. Not money. Okay. So everybody's like, well, you inherited this. No, no, no. Let's get this clear. He left me with a phenomenal reputation. He was beyond reproach. There weren't any scandals or what now that you're dead, well, what's this about kind of thing. He left me with an unbelievable, fan base, people that loved him, a tremendous tribe. Number two, he left me with no debt, no lines of credits, no liens, everything he paid cash for. And that wasn't just old school. And number three, he left me with a vehicle to generate wealth and income. Okay, so what he left me with was a wonderful running machine, but it was up to me to continue to do it. And fourth thing was you make money to give money away. So that was the mindset of, it's a job until you turn it into a machine for the righteous use of wealth. And one of the best books I read on this was The Search for God in Guinness. I read it in my doctoral studies, and it was all about the founder of Guinness Beer and how he was the one he paid for employee health care and church services. And he really used his money to make the world a better place because people are like, oh, rich man. I'm like, rich man? How do you want to be a rich man? Okay. So stop this poo-pooing wealth. Everybody needs money to get stuff done. People were either spending it or donating it. And they're equally both wonderful professions according to the Bible. The Bible talks about both of them. So kind of that was the thing coming back that we did it. So we have two libraries in the South Central Pennsylvania the region that are donated to him. And I am going to say what I donate is because the people that are listening and support tremendous leadership. I have to generate the donations. You know what I'm saying? We didn't get an endowment and we're living off the interest in the investments. It's kind of like people on commissions. I eat what I kill. I donate what I earn. So that's the ultimate skin in the game. And so, like I said, it was up to me to really say, okay, I'm going to keep this machine going that he had already started, or I could have closed it up and honored his legacy and gone back to doing other things. So anybody out there that has supported tremendous leadership, you have helped us name 2 leadership libraries, Lancaster Bible College and Central Penn College. You enable me to go all over the world to countries like Kosovo and Uganda to teach leadership in emerging countries. You enable us to do donations to Mennonite Disaster Service to help disaster recovery, Bethesda Mission, which helps homeless people and people that are recovering from men, women, and children from addiction services. You enable me to take time away from my schedule to go into state corrections institution, prisons, and do book clubs and donate books. I mean, all these things you allow me to do because I'm able to keep the lights on and not have to do, oh my gosh, everything has to go back into the business. So that's because of everybody out there.
Well, I know after getting to talk with you and listen to your story, you'll have even more followers that want to support the tremendous leadership
Thank you.
movement. And now you've got, I believe, a 30-minute discovery call that you offer to people. Can you talk about that? And I think you had some books that you wanted to talk about as well.
Sure, Derek. I have a link that I sent for your listeners. It's just a 30-minute discovery call, and I mean that. And some people are like, oh, I don't know. Whether you want to talk about an issue that really is pressing on you, a lot of people will call me because they're in that transition time of life, and they're like, I want to be free to serve at a higher level. Or if you want to publish a book, or you just want to talk, or maybe you've seen me on LinkedIn and say, I'm connected with somebody that you would like to get to meet. I'm here to serve as a resource and an advocate, or just recommend books for your team. Or what I love is if you'd love to have me come speak, all those things we can talk about, absolutely anything in that 30-minute call. And if it goes longer, it's not going to cut you off. But I love getting to hear, or if you knew of my father, I love those calls where people just say, Tracy, we got to call, we got to talk because I knew your dad from 50 years ago and this is what's going on. That's what keeps me going.
Well, anybody that's listening to this, you can go to thegenerationsofwealth.com/Tracey Jones, and that will link you over to everything that Tracey has to offer. So I guess I really, really enjoyed this conversation. I appreciate, the back and forth that we're able to do here, and knowing that we're very much in sync on all of our beliefs and our thoughts. It's been fantastic. My final question for you is, what's something I should be asking you that I haven't?
And you asked me, but I didn't answer about the books, the little books. I
Oh,
would
yes.
say, I'm so glad. I'm so glad. We have, it's called the Life Changing Classics series set, and there's 35 of these little booklets. See these little booklets, how big they are? They're like there's Mark Sanborn. We got Bradford, You're Fired, As a Man Thinketh, Message of Garcia, and the latest one coming out next week is Ben Franklin's Way to Wealth. So there's 35 in this set. They come all packaged, and I tell people these are wonderful. If you just read them, went through all of them in a year, like did 3 a month, even with your team, and a lot of times we have people give them out to their clients and just stamp or put their information in it. Because my father would always say, people, don't give people your business card, they'll throw it away. Sometimes before you even leave the office, but give them a book. They won't throw a book away, and just say, "Hey, I thought about you with this." One of my favorites is, especially in the real estate world, is the new common denominator success, Albert Ian Gray, which his mantra is that the only difference between a success and a failure, the only difference is that a success has made a habit out of doing the things that a failure doesn't want to do. Oh, I mean, if you just know that and that's it, that's the secret. It's all about habits. And so, we have motivational stuff. We have stuff on Reagan and Patton and Lincoln, and some faith-based stuff, and, business things and wealth building things. We have the Science of Getting Rich, and by Richard Waddles, William Wallace Waddles, and Ben Franklin. So check out the website too. But other than that, I would say, Derek, you have asked me everything.
Well,
But I think it was wonderful. Thank you.
that's my job. I just got to try and pull it out of you.
Well, you did a good job.
Thank you so much. Well, again, I appreciate you being here and helping, all of our followers and listeners. Those of you that are faithful listeners of Generations of Wealth, please share this. Go out and like it, and give us the reviews, the 5-star reviews that we need to grow the Generations of Wealth which also helps Tracey grow tremendous leadership, and it helps our entire community grow as one. So Tracey, thank you so much. For everyone else, appreciate you listening in. Look forward to seeing you on the next show. Now go out, live your vision, love your life. Have a great day.
Thank you for joining us on another insightful episode of Generations of Wealth. May your newfound knowledge help you in leveling up your own strategies to get through the many obstacles to your money-making processes and bring you much closer to the financially secure life you truly deserve. Continue filling up your accounts and further polish your financial tactics by listening to more episodes of the podcast at thegenerationsofwealth.com. Because in your wealth building journey, there is no other way to go but up, giving you the chance to finally live your vision, love your life. That's all for now. See you on the next one.